What's up, everybody? All right, 5:30 Mountain Time here. We're gonna get started.
What's up, everybody?
All right,
Got a couple things I want to
5:30
talk
Mountain
about
Time
today.
here. We're gonna get started. Some sad news.
Got a couple
about
things I want to talk about
399
today.
in Yellowstone.
Some sad news about
that bear.
399 in Yellowstone. If you're familiar with that, that bear will.
We'll bring up that news story and kind of talk about that. Also, got some more.
We'll bring up that news story and kind of talk about that. Also,
cool ones
got
in
some
here
more
that people
photos
like,
to edit that I found. See if
also
there's any
got a news
cool ones in
story
here
to
that
share
people
with you
like,
guys
and also
grizzly
got a
charge,
news
which I think
story to share with you guys about
15,319
grizzly charge with I
from
think
Yellowstone.
three.
Kind of talk about what my
15,319
thoughts are
from
on
Yellowstone.
That. I don't think
and
this made
kind of talk about
like
what
major
my
news, but it
thoughts
did
are
happen.
on that. I don't think this
Sorry for
made
the ads
like
here.
major news, but it did
Not
happen.
Sure what
Sorry for the ads here.
this news network or whatever
Not
this is.
sure what
Anyways,
this news
kind of
network
want to
or
talk
whatever
about
this
those
is.
things today.
Anyways, kind of want to talk about those things today. Yeah, give me 1 second. That should fix that. Sorry about the audio. Should be good now, I think. Anyway, so those are the kind of things we're going to talk about. I don't know, and I'm not sure where everybody's at. I just sent out the reminder email. If you guys want to jump on here, that'd be great. Love to hear from you guys. Questions. I know there's some people that I talked to this week that are thinking about planning their trip, so we can go over trip planning stuff if that's on the docket for the day. But if not, we'll kind of just roll right into some of this other stuff. I apologize for the stream quality today. The internet seems to be a little bit slow, so it might not be coming through perfectly clear. So hopefully that's that. So last week we kind of edited some of these pictures here of the Beatty Bunch. There was this confrontation between Walker and Chunk, which I don't know that I shared that one. A lot of people ask about Margot Creek. This is that space. So this is out at Margot Creek. This is the sow that we saw over there. A lot of people ask about Margot Creek. Margot Creek's actually relatively difficult to access any further than this point right here. If you want to go beyond this, you'll need waders and a little bit of willingness to adventure, because there isn't a path like there is over at Brooks Camp. But I had quite a few more pictures here than I thought. I really like this one. So sounds like the audio's fixed now. Looks like we're going out okay too. So I'm just kind of checking on some stuff here. Let's put that away for now. Just focus on this. So for anybody just jumping on the show today, we're going to go through and edit some pictures. I appreciate you jumping on. I don't know if you got the chance to listen to episode 1 of the podcast, which is kind of how we ended up in Alaska and why we started doing what we're doing and how we got there. So if you haven't gotten a chance to check it out, I did pin that comment in the Facebook. If you're on YouTube, you can go to Spotify and look up Katmai Adventure Show. Should pull it up there. I'll add it to the description here. And I I think that that's basically going to be kind of what that was about. You know, that Spotify podcast was specifically for, you know, how we got up to Alaska and what got us started, how long we've been there, that kind of stuff. Today I want to talk about, and that's going to be kind of the subject of the next podcast, is, you know, I've got an article here about, you know, tourists getting charged by a bear in Yellowstone, and then also $8.99. Some unfortunate news from, I think it was yesterday or last night. I'm not sure exactly when that happened, but we'll kind of go over that because I know that that bear, I think she's 28. She, you know, she'd been around for a while, so she was pretty famous. If you're here and you're stopping by, if you want to drop something in the comment, happy to, you know, engage, talk with you, answer any questions that I can that you have, and I'd love to hear about your guys' day and what you guys have been up to. So feel free to drop a comment to, you know, stop by. I'll play this video here in just a minute, but it's this kind of stuff when we're talking, you know, this moment where 815 with a cub. So 815 is a bear that's in Yellowstone, and they monitor and track these bears, right? If you're not familiar with the different bears that are out there and that the park tracks, they number, they don't name them anymore. Most of the names come from people at this point. They stopped naming the bear, or giving the bears names, a while back because people were getting a little too attached, which many people are still pretty attached with or without the names. But so it's moments like this that are happening in, you know, in Yellowstone. We know everyone's seen a video of somebody getting hit by a bison. That's not new. But to see a bear charge tourists because they got too close or because they encroached on their space, and, you know, as I show the video, you guys will see that's the kind of stuff that we want to prevent at Katmai. We don't want that stuff to happen. We really do believe that prevention is better than some type of reaction. And so I think that there's a way to deal with this, and our solution is to kind of police our own clients. A lot of people ask why we do guided tours versus self-guided. This is one of the reasons that we do that. One of the other reasons is that it really does enhance the experience for the visitor, but we also want to prevent negative interactions with the bears, like the one we're going to see here, where we see quite a few people actually approach this bear in an unsafe manner. So I'll go ahead and play that video now. And so I apologize for some of the text that's over the top of the videos. I can't do anything about that. Let's see, did we get the right video pulled up? Okay. Let the stream catch up here. Yeah, there we go. So I apologize for the text over the top of the video, but we'll just watch this here. So it's kind of hard to see in the video, but it looks like whoever took the video is indicating that down there is 815 with 3 cubs. And they're right down at the edge of the trees. It looks like maybe she's laying down. But then we'll just kind of let this play. Yeah, it's not real clear here in the video. Like, she highlights where the people are at. You can kind of see where the bear. So from my understanding, the bear is down here below the tree line where this, you know, these gentlemen one of them just went down there with their camera and the other one came back. And I guess whoever shot this video is, I guess, on top of their car. I don't know that calling 911 is the right answer, but and then you can see the people react as they get charged. And this is quite honestly absurd. You know, I understand the desire to see wildlife, bears, but this is precisely the thing that we're seeking to avoid. So I don't know if you guys can hear her, but the lady just said she was videoing and she had the bear come at her. She's off camera, you can't see her. So that was one of the girls that got charged, I guess. She was down there based on what she told them. So anyways, that's basically the conclusion of that video. So yeah, I mean that's kind of, pretty unfortunate thing that happened there. And I think that it was large. I mean, almost 100% preventable. There was no reason for people to approach that bear from up that close. So I just not really, what we want to be happening there. So not really all that surprised. So that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. And let's see if we can find a news article on 399. Where'd my window go? Let's see. Well, we'll just reference the New York Times article. Oh, they're probably going to make me pay to read it. Yeah. Okay. NBC's happy to let me read it. So she doesn't currently have 4 cubs. My understanding is she only had one, and it was old enough that it's likely to survive on its own. I guess this picture was taken in 2020, so it's been a minute since she's had those. So she was hit on a highway in Snake River Canyon near Jackson, Wyoming. And I guess she's 28 years old and one of the most photographed birds at the park. Oldest known reproducing female grizzly in the Yellowstone Park system. She gave birth to 18 cubs, and 8 of those 18 have reached adulthood. So yeah, kind of, sad news there. I know that there's quite a few people that, interact with us on Facebook and through email, and I'm sure that there are people out there who are upset about losing 399. So those are the two kind of main articles that I wanted to cover and go over tonight. Doesn't look like we got a whole lot of people on here tonight, so don't know that we'll go for the full, hour and a half or so. But for now, those are the two things, and then I'm just going to edit some of these pictures here that I had going, so we'll switch back over to Lightroom. Yeah, I probably can do that, Tammy. Let me see. Let me pull up your stuff on the other screen. How are you this evening, Tammy? So I'm just helping Tammy out here, check and see what her reservation has going. Let's see. So Tammy, you are currently set up to be self-guided. Um, you don't have to change, although we do really recommend it. Not because people are incapable of visiting brooks on their own, but because having the guides with them really does really enhance your experience while you're there. I think that um, let me double check your dates. I think you're there. Yeah, probably right at the peak, basically, of bear viewing, and they can really make sure that you maximize your time there at Brooks because there's a good chance that there will be some cues for getting out onto the platform. And when I say cue, it's not really a line, but there is like an order to try and track who's getting how much time out on the platform and what they're doing out there and for how long, so that everyone gets a chance. So they do monitor that, making sure that you have or having a guide with you can really help you maximize that time while you're over there at Brooks, and then also help you feel comfortable, keep the bears safe, keep you safe, and we do a lot of helpful type stuff for the MPS because there isn't enough rangers. And so we really do believe that, having a guide with you while you're at Brooks Camp, although the walk itself is not difficult or complicated, it is something that we find to be very important. Having a guide with you while you're going over there. This is actually the last year that we'll do anything or help anyone that's, you know, doing the trip that way. We'll always provide the information, but we're not going to continue to assist customers book self-guided trips because we'd like to do that. How would I set that up? That's pretty easy, Tammy. If you want to just shoot me an email, if you still have my email, it's steven@katmaiadventure.co. If you just shoot me an email so I don't forget, and then I can help you do that, and we'll just make that adjustment to your final invoice. But patiently waiting for your trip. Yeah, I can imagine you are excited. I'm sure lots of other people are excited as well. We're excited for next year, quite honestly. We really do enjoy being there and visiting Brooks on a regular basis. And so, we'd love to do that. So, yeah, if you want to just shoot me an email, it'll be pretty easy to do it that way. I do need to monitor both chats. Let's make sure I'm not missing anything. Cool. Well, awesome. So that's kind of, that's easy. We can set that up. Did you get a chance to see the video of the, you couldn't really see the bear charging those people, but that kind of interaction is what we were trying to avoid. There was another video that I saw this summer, and I don't know where I saw it, and I couldn't find it, but there was a gentleman at Brooks who was hazing one of the bears on the walking path. He was like clapping and yelling at it and trying to get it to move because it was, I'm sure it was napping or whatever it was doing. But in case you're not familiar, the bears have the right of way at Brooks Camp, and I'm sure that that's probably the rule at all national parks, including Yellowstone. But you are supposed to remain 50 yards from the bear at all times, probably give them a bigger buffer than that if you can. And that they do have the right of way. And so if they're on the path, we're not supposed to be, shooing them out of the way or anything like that. They're supposed to be, doing exactly what they're doing, and we're supposed to be altering our behaviors so as to have the least amount of impact on them. So I couldn't find that video, but it's disappointing to see stuff like that. And then of course there was the incident at the end of the season where somebody was yelling at goalie from the platform. And those are the kinds of things that, I suspect that most of our clients are not going to do that when we drop them off. But when they do get dropped off and that happens, it would be unfortunate if that, they were somebody that we could have been there to be a preventative measure against that. But as most of our clients are bear lovers, I don't typically see that being an issue. I guess this probably isn't really the Halloween special. I think that'll be next week. But if you're still here, what's everybody going to be for Halloween? Anything cool? Do you guys have kids? We've got one boy, and he got a pretty interesting costume. It's one of those inflatable costumes, and he's riding on top of the back of the bear as like an MPS ranger. Let's see. I don't even know. Let's see I don't even know what to look up to find that. Let's see if I can, oh yeah, here we go. Let me switch scenes here real quick. So I don't remember exactly which one. Oh, I think it's this one. Yeah, of course. Not logged in on this account. Let's see. eBay, let me pull it up. So this is what our son got for his school appropriate Halloween costume. Oh, so you saw, okay. So you saw that video as well. I think it was shared on the Katmai National Park Facebook group. Yeah, but this is the this is the costume. I don't have any pictures of my boy in it, but that is what he's going to be for his school appropriate costume. Let's see what other. I got some pretty good pictures this summer. Don't know that I have a favorite. This one's pretty good though. This picture here is one of my favorite. That fish is a little bit out of focus, but this one's really good. I don't recognize the bear from here, but did really like this shot. And then for anybody who does catch this replay, and Tammy, if you want to, we are probably a little past this stage, but we're hosting our monthly webinar on how to plan your trip to Brooks, and we kind of go through, there's about 15 slides where we talk about all the different steps of, booking your air travel into King Salmon, and then how to get to Brooks Camp and where to stay and that kind of stuff. You've got most of that stuff figured out. So I'm not sure that it's super relevant to you, but it is over Zoom. So there's two-way vocal communication if you want to ask questions and, over that call. So I will put the link to that in the comments so that you guys can, if anybody wants to sign up, they can do that. I'll grab that link. To answer your question, Tammy, I can identify quite a few. I can't identify all of them, and I'm definitely better at the males than I am the females, just because a lot of times they've got distinct markings because of, interactions they've had with other bears. Chunk is very obvious. 747 with his no ears is also easily identifiable. Goalie's got like a really long neck. That's usually how I can identify him. But there are some bears that, have just stuff that it's difficult. It's hard for me to identify which bear is which just based on their appearance. You can always try and reference the bear wiki page, which can be helpful, but it's not one that this bear here, I'm not 100% sure. It may be Beady Bunch here, and I'm just too zoomed in to see the other bear, but it's like this was close to your dates, Tammy. I think it might even be right around when you're supposed to be there. I took this photograph, which obviously year to year can be different, but sometime in July, there's a good chance there'll be 20, 30, maybe even 40 bears there at there at the falls. And then this sow with these two younger cubs, I'm not sure who it is. It's not Grazer. Obviously, these two cubs are too big for the koi that she had this year. Oh, great. I'm glad you got to see that, Tammy. Yeah, so it's basically that. If you've seen that video, I think it was on YouTube, and it's delisted, so unless you have the link, you can't get to it. But yeah, that's basically what we're doing tomorrow. So I got to edit most of these. Tammy, are you into photography? And so most of these are taken on the beach, right? Likely I was sitting on the boat waiting for clients to return from their trip. So this is right at Brooks Camp, and just behind us here is a path here that goes up. I don't know which. There's three of these kind of that lead up to another trail that's behind the trees that is the way towards the lodge. I don't know which one of those three it is, but I typically park pretty far down the beach. This is, if I'm not mistaken, this is Hedgie after she'd been emancipated. I think she's 719 now. I'm not 100%. What I would like to be. Are you planning on bringing camera equipment, or are you just going to use your phone? either way is fine. There's plenty of good iPhone pictures taken at Brooks Camp every year. I'm just curious. So I have about 400, well, I think 405 pictures or so still that I need to go through, and I've tried to trim it down. Some of these are a little bit redundant, but to get down to some kind of reasonable number of photos. And I think I take a lot. Some people take 10, 10 times as many pictures at Brooks. I had 800 when I started, and I'm down to 4, so I'm making progress. Like that one's, I don't know, that one's not that good. Let's get rid of it. I thought this one was kind of cool. It's not a great composed photograph, but I liked it. And then this sow and cub, I only saw the one day. And I can't remember if this is 856 or who this is, but he pursued this other female for like 4 or 5 days. Chunk also followed her around. And this is actually, I'm trying to think where we're standing for this picture. You can see these people probably need to get out of the way. I think we were just coming off, we're actually behind the gate as you go onto the last platform here, and they had come up from the river and then turned and walked down. So there are places to rent lenses, I would say in Anchorage, Tammy. In King Salmon, you're not going to find any lens rental. King Salmon's really small. But yeah, I think if you are referring to in Anchorage, there you could rent from there. I'm trying to think where else do people rent camera stuff from, and I could give you direction. I think B&H does lens rental. Yeah, they do. So I think B&H Photo does lens rental, and they'll just ship it to you, and then when you're done with it, you ship it back. So that would probably be more cost effective than renting it wherever in Anchorage. Although that's fine if you want to support them, but it might be less logistics that way. From I'm not exactly sure what your total your whole trip consists of, but making a trip to that camera store, if they'll let you even reserve it, might be challenging. So maybe renting it from B&H, which is this website here. B&H Photo, I believe, does lens rental. But let's verify that. I know these guys do. So Adorama Rentals, a rental company, they rent lenses, but looks like they want you to pick up from one of their locations, which might not work considering not everyone's in New York. But let's look in Anchorage, since we don't know if they do or not. So Stewart's Photo and Alaska Camera both come up as renting there. What kind of camera do you have, Tammy? You got to reserve it online. Let's just see if I was going to rent something. It's actually not bad. It's a lot cheaper than buying some of these lenses. Especially if you don't, as we get into these big telephotos where you might not use them again. So for people who weren't here last week, somebody asked what size lens I use. So this is most of the photographs I was flipping through on Lightroom is going to be this 1:500 from Canon. I don't shoot any primes, although if you were going to, this wouldn't be the best option, but it wouldn't be bad. You probably do, what you do want is to get something fast. Like if not, you end up with a lot of ISO. Okay, so you're shooting Nikon. So they've got an assortment here, Tammy. That's probably not, that might be the one that I would get. I'm not super familiar with Nikon, so I'm not sure if that's the right mount for you, but that's probably, I would rent that one and maybe this one. So 70 is not very wide, but 200's not bad. All my close-up shots of the bears is going to be shot on, it's like, I think this is, I can't remember who that is. Like here's Chunk, he's at the far side of the river, and I would have shot this probably between 350 and 500. And then this is at the near side of the falls, and I was probably between 150 and 250. So 70 to 200 would cover some of what you're looking for, but that 200 to 500 is going to get you lots of close-ups. And then you just, so Stewart's Photo has rentals, and you have to reserve it to their calendar online. And then I didn't check this other one, alaskacamera.com, but they also have some rentals, although it doesn't look to be as streamlined as Stewart's. And it doesn't look like they have as many options for longer lenses. Yeah, Stewart's is probably the way to go. Yeah, Stewart's Photo, Tammy. I'll grab you the link. I don't have any for sale yet, but some of these ones will be for sale a little later this year around Christmas time. But yes, I could take the pictures, and you probably don't need to pay me. I'll just give them to you. But but yeah, some of these shots that I have will be for sale later. So if I'm not mistaken, I believe this was the last day Hedgie was seen with her mom at Brooks this summer. But I'm not an expert at bear identification, but from what I remember, this was the last day they were together. And then, of course, sad news about Hedgie's mom this fall. And then I'm not sure who these two are. So yeah, if anybody else is here and they haven't asked any questions and you'd like to, please go ahead. I don't necessarily need to drive the conversation here. Happy to answer questions if I can. Yeah, a lot of sad bear news this year. On average, if you're not staying at Katmai, how long do you get on the viewing platforms? That's actually a really good question, Sandy. So total time on the platform is determined based on trying to make sure that everyone gets a fair shot at being out there on the platform. And so during some of those peak days or peak weeks at Brooks, they try to limit the amount of time you get on the platform to be about 30 minutes. And so that's really kind of what you're looking at. But you can re-queue or get back in line. It's not a standard line, but get back in line to go back out on the main platform. And so this is actually a super common question. Nobody gets preference there. So if just because you're camping or staying at Brooks Lodge doesn't mean you get more time on the platform per se in terms of the queue. What a lot of times you hear people say about staying at the lodge is that they got to sneak up there early or stay a little bit late. But the main platform does close, so they might get an extra hour or two based on what time you're leaving or arriving to Brooks Camp, but it's not much. I think really kind of what they think is special about being at Brooks Camp is that they were there the whole time. And it's a little bit exclusive. I don't necessarily like the way that makes people feel. But it is the way that it is because of that lottery system and the number of guests trying to stay there. It feels kind of, I don't want to call it elitist, but sometimes I see posts where people make it seem like that's what it is. But you know, if you can afford it, you can afford it. Really, it's just like, you know, winning the lottery because it's exactly what it is. And so if you get the chance to stay at the lodge, then you're just lucky. You know, they don't give any points. There's no preference system. Each year is a totally new attempt at staying at the lodge. So you can expect if you're visiting in like early June, mid to late August and September, you're going to have basically unlimited time on the main viewing platform. And although there may not be 20 or 30 bears at the falls, there's almost always at least some. You know, like this year, Chunk and 747, a lot of days were the only ones there. And then as we pushed into the back half of the later part of August or first part of September, then Walker returned and 856, Chunk, Gully, and then the smaller relative. The smaller females would also wander through, but for the most part, they weren't going to fish the falls. Just not enough fish for that many big bears to be there at the same time. So July is really going to be the time to see, you know, lots of bears there simultaneously. But that being said, even this July when Chunk was there, the falls were not empty, but there was certainly less bears than when he's not there. I think that the most number of bears that I saw this summer was maybe like 40 something, 41, 42 bears at the falls, and Chunk was notably missing. If he had been there, those other bears would have been much more cautious about, you know, being that close to him. But hopefully that answers your question, Sandy. You should expect to be able to have, you know, a reasonable amount of time on the platform. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you arrived at 9, you'll get your bear orientation, you'll make your way up to the platform. You may have to queue at that point in the day, depending on how many people have arrived before you or made it up to the falls before you do. And so you'll queue. They might tell you, the ranger will say it's going to be about a 30-minute wait. You can hang out in the treehouse, which is the waiting area, or go to the riffles platform, which is directly out in front of the treehouse. And then the rangers do their best to call your name and get you off of the riffles platform and bring you up, but you should check in regularly while you're waiting, just so you don't miss your turn, because they will move on. And then you'll get your 30 minutes out on the platform, and then they'll call you off. They'll say, hey, Sandy's party, or whatever the last name is going to be of your party, they'll call you off the platform, and you'll come off, and then they'll bring out somebody else, and you can put your name back on the list as you come off the platform, and that would give you another opportunity to get back out there. We tell people that in, a 6 to an 8 hour day, even on a really busy day, you could probably expect to do it at least twice, maybe 3 times, if you're willing to skip lunch. If you're there basically anything other than a really busy day, you're probably going to get a chance to be out there for longer than the 30 minutes, or be able to do it a few times. So a lot of options there. What do you feel are the best things to not miss on your visit other than the platform? Great question, Linda. Let's see. I honestly, so a lot of people enjoy they call them a trail bear. So when you're walking on the trail, you may bump up to, or come upon a bear walking down the trail. Let's see where that picture went. Going up or down. My personal, one of the things I enjoyed, most people skip it, is they don't spend any time on the beach. And this, some sows take their cubs to the falls to fish, and there's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of the sows avoid it because of the number of other male bears and the proximity that they're going to be with some of those other bears. They don't take their cubs up there. And so if you want shots like this, which a lot of my pictures are sows with cubs, is because I didn't, I spent a lot of my time down in the lower part of of Brooks Camp, down near the beach, either with a lot of times I captain the boat, and so I'm down there at the boat, and so I get a lot of opportunities to take shots like this. So this was, I don't want to say it was day 1. We'll go back to the trail bear in a minute. But this shot of the Beatty Bunch, which I don't have the edited photo, and it's a little overexposed here. So this is a shot of the Beatty Bunch on the beach it might have been the last week of June, first week of July. And so I got a shot to take this picture here, and it's kind of special because they were all close together, and I don't want to spoil it, but there's one really good one that will be for sale, and it's this picture here where they all kind of look like they're having a moment, but they're really just sniffing the ground, but it can be perceived however you'd like. So spending time on the beach would be one of those things I would say to try and not miss, or at least spend some time there doing that, besides just standing in line at the platform. And we'll pull up the map, and I'll kind of show you some stuff here in just a second, Linda. Well, I appreciate you spending some time there, Sandy. Depending on which website you land on, it may be specific to a certain thing, but Katmai Adventure Company, the company that I run, is a complete service provider for Brooks Camp. We do provide lodging, and we're partnered with a couple of other lodging facilities. We help take reservations for them. We also provide guided trips to Brooks Camp, and I started out as a fishing guide on the Naknek River. Is how I got started in the outdoor space here in Katmai, but I was originally an air traffic controller, but that's kind of, if you listen to the podcast, that's what we talk about, but this last week. But yeah, so we're a complete service provider. We do guided bear viewing trips to Brooks Camp, including the transportation coordination. We have lodging available through Katmai Bed and Breakfast, and we're partnered with Bear Trail Cabins. And then Katmai Fishing Guides was my original business, and it was the fishing guide service because my first passion was fishing, and now it's turned into something else. But I still like fishing, and I like fishing a lot. So that's kind of what we provide. My goodness, a trail bear. Yeah. So yes, trail bears can be very exciting. I don't know that that's something you should seek out, but it does occur, and it can always be very exciting to be or get your adrenaline pumping. I don't know if I would call it exciting. And that's one of those moments where it is very nice to have someone with you who is familiar with bear behavior, so that you're not surprised, like these people are about to be, about, I think this is Chunk or it's 8:56, I can't remember, but yeah, so we're up, so I'm zoomed pretty far here, but we're up or behind the gate at the lower, right where you enter to go up to the main platform, or the boardwalk that goes up to the main platform. And then these two are walking down trail, and yeah, I don't know what the right call is here. I probably wouldn't yell at them and let them know there's a bear coming, but on one hand, you probably think that you should. Yeah, bear bumps. But anyway, so yeah, so hopefully someone down here is paying attention, and they should move off the trail one way or the other to let these two pass so that they don't interfere with what they're doing. My passion for walk has been bears. Awesome. You're more than welcome to email us, Sandy, if you'd like, and I can send you some links. You can check out, if you want to get the most information that we have anywhere available that's condensed, is if you go to Katmai B&B's website. And I'll put, I'm sure Tiara, my wife, is monitoring, and she'll probably get to it before I do. But if you visit Katmai B&B's website and go to the blog, that'll give you a lot of good information helping you plan your trip if you're thinking about coming up. But there's also most of what we do will be available there as well on that website. It should have links to, or at least descriptions of fishing and wildlife viewing tours and that kind of stuff. Yes, Linda, actually, I was talking with another guest, Tammy, about exactly that. So if you, I don't know how it works on Facebook, but I can still see it on my chat. So it's stewartsphoto.com. They rent camera and lenses there in Anchorage. If you have a local camera store to wherever you're at, there's a good chance they do it as well. I don't know how good their rates are relative to Stewart's Photo, but Stewart's Photo had a lot of mirrorless camera equipment, and I shoot Canon for the most part, and it looked like they had some Nikon stuff as well when I looked for Tammy. But yes, you can certainly do that. And yeah, Stewart's Photo. Let me see, I'll switch back over to that. Give me a second. Yeah, so Stewart's Photo /rentals. I'll put it in the chat again. Yeah, I mean, it certainly can happen. I have my camera gear and I travel back and forth with it. I don't put it in my checked luggage. I keep it all in my carry-on with me, which can be inconvenient because it's heavy, but it does ensure that it stays safe with me. But yeah, Stewart's Photos in Anchorage, and they have rentals there, and they have like an online reservation system, which makes it pretty streamlined. So yeah, hopefully that helps if you want to do that. And one, you can make your own decision about what you would like, but I kind of just poked around here, and I can show you what I would get, so, and what I use. So for cameras, I shoot R6 Mark II. So let me make sure you guys can see my screen. So I shoot this one over here. I've got the book now highlighted, and most of these pictures were taken with, and I would say maybe 99% of these pictures were taken with this lens right here, this one. The Canon RF 100 to 500 millimeters, what I use for most of the pictures that I took here. Hey, sure, no worries. You don't need to be sorry about that. Jump on whenever you'd like. So yeah, we're just talking about camera rentals. Sherry might have some good insight as well. She's our preferred travel agent. If you guys are needing any help with planning any other parts of your Alaska travel. But yeah, it was just Stuart's photo for camera rental gear is what we're talking about, Sherry, and I was just letting Linda know here what I use, and you're welcome. Yeah, of course. Yeah, lots of different options. Everyone's got their preferences. I used to shoot Fujifilm, and I switched to Canon this last year because I wanted to shoot on a full-sized sensor. So we switched from APS-C to this one, but we still shoot some APS-C. Yeah, of course. You're welcome. So that's camera gear. But anyways, I think, so what we were talking about before that, things not to miss. The lower platform is also often overlooked. Let's pull up the map. So we were talking about things that were overlooked at Brooks Camp. Let's see. So here's our map. So a lot of times we're going to, this is the preferred landing spot. Here is down here near the visitor center. Thanks, Sandy. I really appreciate stuff like that. Let's talk about Otis just a second. While I finish my thought here on where people should spend more time. So this is the beach where a lot of those pictures I showed you were taken. And then this is, they call this the boardwalk because it's elevated now. And there's an area to stand right here and see bears. And there's two more areas over here, one looking this way and one this way. And if you're familiar with the camera names, so Cat's Riverview is down here. And whatever the other one, I forget the other one is, it's looking, the other one's looking upriver, and then I think Cat's is looking out towards the lake. But those are both right here, and you can actually see the cameras. If you look close, they're attached to the side of the boardwalk if you make it there or when you're there, you can see them. But this is an area where a lot of people skip, and to be honest with you, we skip it as well in July when we're in a hurry to get to the falls platform to try and beat some of the queue, or at least decrease that or maximize our time there on the main platform. But this area is often overlooked. And like this picture, for example, was taken from the lower platform. And it would have been taken from this. I would have been standing here on the north platform, as they would call it. So that's someone asked what should not miss. That's probably one of those things that I would advise you to do, is to spend some time down there. Yeah, if Otis is still with us, there certainly are places that he could go to get salmon. So the Brooks River is, and let's switch to Google Maps, not the only place that a bear could fish and stay within the Brooks area. So let's zoom in here, and I'll slow down in just a second. So this is the Naknek River that flows out from the lake to Bristol Bay, which is this area here. And the Naknek River gets about, on the low end, maybe 800,000 to 1.5 million sockeye salmon return annually. And so there's many places in Naknek Lake that the fish go besides Brooks. Not all 800,000 to a million fish go to Brooks, although there's a lot. It's not all of them. So I know for a fact that some of these fish spawn in this general area right here. I know that there's a spot back here where they spawn. And we've seen bears when we've gone back here. So there's other bears over here, although Otis probably wouldn't make that swim. There's bears back there. I'm sure that there's, and if we hit the layers and switch, you can see, well, look at that. Imagine somebody's there fishing. So there's probably fish going up that creek. So there's lots of places that the fish could go. One of the more common ones where people talk about or we hear talked about is Margot Creek, and which is over here. It's not that far from Margot Creek to Brooks, even along the beach. So we'll just do I mean, in a straight line, it's only 8 miles for us. When you have to go out and around, it's a little further. For the bear, it might be something like that if they follow the bank. So maybe 9, 5. I mean, it's just not that far total distance. 9 miles. So it's certainly walkable for Otis or Grazer or any of the other bears that are there at Brooks. So it really is not that big of a stretch to imagine that then they could fish. So Margot Creek runs all the way up here, and I'm not exactly sure how far the sockeye make it, but I suspect that this whole area here is very full of them a lot of the time, and for guests who want to go to Margot Creek. So one thing to remember is that there's no paved anything like there is at Brooks Camp, and you got to cross this marsh, and then you got to walk in the river to get where you're going to see the bears. So we do have some guests that we took over to Margot Creek this summer, and I'm trying to think where those pictures are at. So this is the boat parked at Margot Creek. This is a sow that was there with a couple cubs. I don't know if I got any pictures of the cubs, and they were fishing. But from here at Margot Creek, they're taking pictures of that sow. She's on the other side of the water there. Let me switch. There we go. So here we're at the beach here at Margot Creek without waders, which basically limits us to this outer area right here. And then this is before she swam over to the far bank, and then right now, and we would just watch her before we parked the boat. We're just off the beach watching her with the cubs. Let's see. Let me catch some of the chat here. Down the loss of Otis and 402 this year are just devastating. Yeah, Otis unconfirmed, right? But we can assume. And 402, yeah, that is pretty sad. But yeah, he could be somewhere like Margot Creek where it's not as competitive, and there are other areas for him to fish that might be better. Estimate the number of people day to Katmai. Well, I know the number for July. It has not been released officially yet, but I will tell you what it was this year. On average, there would have been 338 visitors to Brooks Camp per day this year in July. That would be an average I don't know if that's an average. It would be if we divided it up evenly. There was 10,500 visitors to Brooks Camp this July, which is the most ever. Katmai as a whole probably is fine. It's 4 million acres. So there's probably a lot of the park that would be okay and could sustain more visitors. But Brooks Camp itself is coming to the point where it may be time to start to consider that should be happening, especially at those peak days, peak months. We would be advocates of that. Unfortunately, what that likely means is that the price to visit Brooks Camp will go up. I don't know how much, but if we were, which we've already limited our operation, and some of that cost is being passed on because we're taking less people and on purpose. It's a better experience for the visitors. It's a better experience for the bears. It's a better experience for the customer. And so we don't take as many people as we used to. I don't know that either of the other two big operators are doing anything to limit the number of people they're taking per day. But it is my opinion that it's coming. I just don't know when. As far as cameras go to new areas, I am not an explore.org expert, nor am I in the know. That's a good question. I don't know the logistics of it, but if I were going to put a camera up, let's look at where I might add some. I think the more challenging part is getting powers, and I'm not sure if those transmit to a base station and then transmitted to online, or if they're all actively wired in and feeding. That would be a question for somebody that works for explore.org. But if I were going to add a camera, this corner always has spares. So if I was going to put one somewhere, there's a couple of tall trees. This is where the eagle's nest was. Here, so this corner right here so if you're standing on the north platform and you look north, I can't remember what names of the cameras are, but I can't remember if it's Cat's River View or the other one, but one of them is looking this direction, and there's almost always bears up here. And so if you were to put a camera in one of these trees, you have an additional vantage point that's often has bears. You'd have some overlap with this camera here, but this area is largely not visible from the cameras. And a lot of times there's lots of bears on this upper portion of the river that's totally not visible to the cameras either. And lastly, I would put one that looked down the beach, either this direction or this direction, because you can't see any of that from the cameras. I don't know that you need any more, but that's where I would stick them. What's the latest bears have been seen in the season? So the cameras went down kind of early this year, but last year I believe that the cameras were up and functional until they finally were not getting enough light for the solar panels to continue to work. But I think it was sometime in October when we've been there late into the season. October is about the latest that I've seen bears present in king salmon. So that's about the latest I've seen them. And by then it's typically snows or freezes sometime towards the end of September, and then will likely snow certainly by Halloween, if not sooner. Let me answer Linda's question here, Tammy, and then I'll answer yours. Who is my favorite bear and why? I don't know that I have a favorite bear. I probably have a favorite group of bears. And it's probably these three right here. The Beatty Bunch is probably my current favorite. I forget which one is the older of the two. I think it's Bede. But she is very aggressive towards other bears, and it's quite fun to watch. I think there was a highlight that somebody posted on the Katmai Facebook group the other day of her doing exactly what she does well, which is charge other bears who get too close regardless of the reason. There's also a clip from last year where the mom I think she got chased out from the riffles up near the main platform, and she turned around when Bede and Bean joined her to turn on the bear that chased her out. And that clip we could probably find on YouTube. But yeah, they call them bunch. They're probably closer to a little gang at this point. They harass all of the other bears on a regular basis. So they're probably my favorite to watch. I definitely don't want to say Chunk because he's not the best at public relations. His PR is pretty bad year over year. And then So I think I think I'd probably go with the Beatty Bunch for now. I don't know that it will be them forever, and they could take off and not come back once they get emancipated, but I hope they never do. That would be fun. But they're probably my favorite. Answering Tammy's question about wildlife viewing excursion. So I think you're referencing the wildlife viewing tour, Tammy, which is not your trip to Brooks. So let's look at that. Get rid of that. So this is the town of King Salmon here. Docks are here. Here's the guide service dock. This is where we keep the boat to go do that as well. So we go up the Naknek River, and we'll go past, they call this Big Creek, and then around this bend, and I probably shouldn't give away all the secrets, but we usually see bears around this area, either going up or coming down, as well as this bank. So the sockeye salmon swim this bank, and so and it's really shallow, which this isn't going to allow us to see that, but it's really shallow right here, and so there's often bears that fish it. And we go around this next corner, and then we're what we call the rapids. It's not really a rapid, but it is flowing faster than just about the rest of the river as it comes down through this canyon. And there's almost always bears and lots of eagles and occasionally moose, and the only caribou I've ever seen on the north side of the river was right in this, he crossed right here. But yeah, mostly bears, eagles, all through this area, all the way up here. And then typically on a 2-hour wildlife viewing tour, we'll make it into this area here, and then we'll drift back down so that we're quiet, and we'll pull over if we see anything interesting to stop and take pictures of. That's a good question, Diana, for a wildlife biologist. I'm an expert in Katmai and the logistics of how to get to those places and when the bears are there, but I'm not an expert on, bear, I don't want to say behavior, because I'm certainly very familiar with what to expect from the bears, but facts like these, if there's a difference there, I'm not aware. For as far as hibernation might go for them. So that's a good question. And the moment today, we don't have anybody here who could answer that, but answering those kinds of questions are one of the things that we do on our podcast. So the Katmai Adventure Show podcast, which you can find on Spotify, is focused on answering those types of questions. We talk about Katmai, we talk about Alaska travel, we talk about gear, and those are the types of things that get covered there when I have expert guests on who know the answers to those questions. So get a cost on day excursion to see more bear other than the salmon run spot. So Linda, I think you're referencing Brooks Camp there. So for the wildlife viewing tour here in the 25 operating season is $280. I'm rounding up there, but it's $280 an hour to have the boat rental and the guide or captain take you out on the river to go look for those things. So actually a relatively inexpensive option or add-on. And we run those in the evening after most of the fishing boats are done. It is for now, Sandy. Apple wants to vet that. So as far as Apple podcasts go, it will take probably another week before it's available there, but it will be available there. Do you have a preferred platform? Because it certainly isn't very much work for us to put it anywhere else. The reason we did Spotify was because they were the easiest to get the stuff listed quickly. So if you have a preferred platform for the podcast, I'm happy to add it to technical terms, the RSS feed, so that it will post it there as well. So hopefully that answers your question there, Linda, on other spots. Margot Creek is very unique in terms of bear viewing at that location. I think I did mention it takes a little bit of work to get there, especially if you want to make it up to where the bears are really at. Although we do see bears down here near the mouth, sometimes we need to be patient if that's what we're doing. And of course, they might also be present along the beach. Okay, that's not a problem, Sandy. So we do these live streams on here on a regular basis. And if I had guests on, we could do YouTube. I'm just not sure if that's the best place to do it, but it wouldn't be any more work for me to post it there as well. So I appreciate the feedback. I will make that a priority to just also post it there. But a lot of times there's not video, so maybe it's a little boring, but I can make that a priority. It would not be very difficult for us to do YouTube if that's what works for you. Excellent. Is there any other questions about bear viewing that I can answer right now while we're here, or Alaska travel, gear questions? I am working on 2 new things for you guys. I'm currently in the middle of writing an ebook, so some of you probably have read my trip guide, which I think is maybe 4 or 5 pages, and then we're working on a free version of an ebook that's about 40 pages of information as far as visiting Brooks Camp. And there will be a longer version that, as much as I'd love to give it away, it's taking me a significant amount of time, but it'll be cheap and you'll be available for download. But the 40-page version basically gives you a solid basis for planning your trip, and I'll make that available here soon, probably by the end of next week. So hopefully it's ready to go. Attire for August. So let's talk about weather first. And I would expect it to be between 50 to 65 degrees basically every day. And there's always the possibility for rain, and there's always the probability that it could be warm. It's just, August is kind of a weird transition month. If it was July, I would say it's probably going to rain, but it's going to be between 60 and 70 degrees most days. September, I would tell you it's definitely going to be 50. August is kind of that in between. It's what we would consider fall. So it would be, you know, as it kind of transitions from summer into fall. So that's kind of an awkward month for us. But I would say, or what I would typically wear on a cooler day is going to be some wool socks or some hybrid socks that have maybe 2 layers, especially if you're going to be walking a whole bunch. And let's see what else I would wear. If it's cool, I'll wear sweatpants underneath my hiking pants. If it's going to be warm, then I'll just wear just the hiking pants. I would have a waterproof layer with you. I don't typically wear rain pants, but you may want them. If it's blowing sideways and raining, you're definitely going to get wet. If you don't have them, I typically don't wear them, and I'm just okay with being wet. But you may want to have rain pants. Certainly, I always have a rain jacket with me. What quality or level of rain jacket's going to be up to you, but I would definitely have a rain jacket. And then a hat, I would have a sweatshirt, and then I would dress in layers. Whatever would be appropriate for you. I'm not sure what climate you're coming from. I get pretty acclimated to being there from early in the spring to late in the fall. And so 30 or 40s, I might think about wearing a sweatshirt. Anything below that, then I might break out a jacket, but I'm acclimated to that weather. Most of the days I spend in a hoodie with a short sleeve shirt on underneath. So hopefully that helps. We do have a packing list available on Katmai B&B's website. If you go to already booked, it's okay if you're not already booked, or if you're not booking with us, that's okay. If you go to that tab on the website, there is an information packet, and there is a short, brief list of what I would bring as far as packing. I heard all unscented on shampoo. It's certainly not a bad idea. There isn't any requirement from the park to do that. When you do get to Brooks Camp, they want you to leave anything that might carry a scent and put it in the food cache or the gear cache. They don't want you to have anything with you, including gum. So that's probably where that unscented shampoo thought process comes from. I've never heard a ranger tell somebody that they smell like cologne and they need to go rinse it off or something, although it could happen. So I don't know that you have to have unscented shampoo, but it certainly isn't going to hurt. So yeah, not a bad idea to have unscented shampoo, but it's not a requirement. Really appreciate that, Tammy. Thanks for sharing that. And yeah, we do really try to be as helpful as we can. It's okay if you're not going with us or you're not using us or we're booked and you're going to somebody else. We want to provide you with the information so that you can plan your trip. And then, of course, the only thing I really ask for in return is that you share the information that we share with you, with other people who might be interested in visiting. That's all I ask for. Birthday in August. Well, we'd love to see you there, even if you're not booked with us. When's your birthday? There's a little bit of a delay, but I'll get your when is your birthday, Linda, and then I'll see if we can shout out to you or see you over there. Are you camping? Diana, thanks. That's a great question. Thanks for asking. So we do a live stream every Thursday at 5:30 Mountain Time, which I think kind of puts us in the middle of, where everyone might be. And the podcasts, the recordings of the podcast come out every Tuesday. Hey, that's Tiara's birthday. Tiara's my wife, by the way. So we do the live streams every Thursday at 5:30, and the podcasts get released at midnight on Tuesdays every week. Nice, lucky, awesome, good for you. Those are hard to get. Did they tell you what number you were when you got it? Yeah, August 13th. That's Tiara's birthday as well. So that one will be easy to remember. So yeah, to answer Diana's question, live streams every Thursday, 5:30 Mountain Time. Podcasts come out Tuesdays, basically from whenever you wake up. They get posted at midnight, and then they're available all day. And then that following Thursday, we talk about the things that took place in the podcast. This one was our live stream today is always open to, yeah, she would agree. The live stream is always open to discussion. It doesn't need to be about that, but the upcoming podcast, we're actually going to talk about why guided bear viewing is probably the direction that we are. Well, I know it's the direction that we're headed, and I think that it's probably the solution to not only numbering or limiting the amount of people that visit Brooks Camp each day, but also helping to, oh, really? Trying to prevent, trying to prevent, any negative interactions from taking place. Although hopefully most of the people here are as passionate about taking care of the bears and their habitat and also enjoying them as we are. And so we want to be doing the right things to make sure that we get to continue to do that going forward. So, well, it's nice to see that you guys are sisters, but yes, lots of people with good birthdays. Yeah, it is. It is today anyways. So that's pretty cool. Let's see. What else can I answer for you guys? Oh, did you? Oh, that's awesome, Diana. Yeah, told her because she loves bears. And Linda, were you the one that told me you've loved bears since before you could walk? Yeah, your passion for bears since before you could walk. So you've been watching the cameras for a long time then, I suspect. Can I answer any questions about flights? I know that that's a big one. Did you get all your stuff sorted out through Bristol Adventures or Katmai Air? Or do you still need to book flights into King Salmon? I'm going to switch back to some bear pictures here while we just kind of chat. Okay, perfect. As long as you got that sorted out, because I know that people have questions about flights. perfect. Good deal. You asked me, but I don't think I asked you. Do you have a favorite bear? Or is that Otis? And if anybody's watching and they haven't had a chance to ask a question, or maybe they want to have a one-on-one with me, I just shared a link. You can schedule some time to have a one-on-one phone call with me if you would like, so that I can help you plan your trip if you got any questions. Otis is your favorite. That's good. He's a good pick. So let's see. I think I want to share one other link here. You won the raffle reservation, chance to get a cabin. Oh, wow. That's even more unlikely. Sheila, I don't know if that's directed at me or if that's for somebody else. My last name is Benjamin, so sometimes people call me Ben. Yeah, I mean, we'd love to have you, Linda, if you got extra time. Probably going to need an extra day, I think. There are some technicalities, I think. Scuba Steve. Oh, Ben the Bear. Yeah. Yeah, Linda, shoot me an email if you want, or you can drop the question here. We'd love to take you before or after your time at Brooks. There are some rules as far as operators doing things in the park. So like all of our permits, the trip needs to begin and end outside of the park. So you're more than welcome to hang out with me when we go to Brooks Camp. But I can't officially have you be part of the tour if you're going to join us from the lodge. But you're more than welcome to come find us. We all have Katmai Adventure Co. jackets. So this past year, people had Katmai Expeditions jackets in some of these pictures, but they're black Sims jackets with our logo on the back. Favorite photo you ever took? Oh, that's a good one. Let's see. Let me kind of scroll through here. Let's see if there's... I don't know. Can I give you my top 3? I don't know if I can pick one. I'm going to pick 3 bear pictures that would be my favorite. And we're going to start with this one. Oh man, I don't even know if I could pick 3. So the first day that I got to walk up to the falls, I really like this picture. And it's probably not the best picture that anyone's ever taken of 747, but he's one of my favorite bears, and I really like how he's framed up. So this is right as you walk up to the platform. I like how he's framed up here in between these trees. And so to me, that was kind of, to me, the picture kind of, would be somebody's first glimpse of a bear at the falls. This is, if you were walking up to the platform, this is what you would see. And so this was why that one would be one of my favorite. Yeah, and this is just from this one season, and it was almost 1,000 keepable pictures, and I had to narrow it down to what I think is probably reasonable at 400, and there's probably 5,000 that I took, and most of them didn't make the cut for me. Linda, unfortunately, I don't. I mean, I might have a cell phone picture, but I did not get to see him this year at all. So I don't have any really good Otis photos. I might have a cell phone picture of him, but I don't think I've got any nice ones with a big zoom. Okay, so this is one. Well, I don't know if it's my top one, but it's one of my favorite, and this is why, because it's kind of your first glimpse of Bears at the Falls. Let me answer. Let's see, Tammy's question. You do not need a national park card, and there's no entrance fee for visitors visiting Brooks Camp. Your operator has likely included it in the price and has collected it up front when you made your reservation, and we pay the park directly at the end of the season. We turn in a report with the total number of guests we took. So you don't need a national park card to go to Brooks. And there's no fee for visiting Brooks Camp for day trip visitors or lodge guests. It's already been collected by the operator. Yeah, I do have a lot of bear photos. I'm sorry I don't have any Otis photos, but we'll put this one in number one. This one's kind of cool, but it would have been better if he was framed in this little pocket down here. This tree's just kind of the way, and we could probably cheat. Well, we won't do it. We could edit it out. This one I posted on the Facebook page, and some people thought he was in the snow. He's not. He's just in the bubbles. Same bubbles he's in right there. And then this is him up on the platform. Maybe I posted this one. Up near the jacuzzi. And then let's see. Not a bear picture, but I did like this bird. He's making a bunch of noise up there. And I'm not a bird expert. So if someone knows what that is, let me know. But he was up on top of that tree. Okay, let's see. So this would probably be not in any particular order. I'll let you guys decide which one is the best one. But this one of the Beatty Bunch in early July or late June, I don't remember the exact date, is one of my favorite. And everyone I've showed it to feels the same way. So this is Beatty Bunch in June or July. I can't remember. This would probably be one of my other favorites. No, absolutely. Linda, please jump on every week and be as chatty as you'd like. People love the interaction. It's fun to get to speak with you guys about things that you guys like. So please ask away. So that would probably be my number two. Now picking the last of the three would be hard. So this one is, I really like this picture. I know there's no salmon jumping in the picture, but I think it just really highlights the focus that the bears have when they're fishing that lip. And I didn't want any other distractions. She had the cub with her back behind her, and I cropped it out because I didn't particularly care for the distraction. I wanted to be really highlighted on just what she was doing. I think those pictures were taken around the same time you were there, actually, Sherry. It might have been that same couple of days. But I don't know that this would make my third favorite, but it would be a runner-up if it's not. But here's some more runner-ups. Not my favorite, but I know that these will probably be some of people's favorites when they get around to getting posted. So there's this sow with cubs, and if you guys know who the bears are, drop the comments and I'll add the note to my picture so that I know who it is, because I don't know them. Yeah, so this whole little photo shoot these three gave me they're all pretty good. The interaction that was taking place between them, this little guy looking at us, and then towards the end, it's not a great picture, but we get to chance to see some interaction between the cubs. Get a little bite there. And let's see. Well, thanks, Sherry. Here's a not so good one, but an example of how many bears may be at the falls on any given day. And there's a whole bunch more. They just didn't all fit in the frame. It's one of the downsides of shooting with that longer lens is that you can't capture, you know, a wide area. And there was, I think this was the day, there was like 35 or 40 bears. These ones right here are pretty good too. So this one's really good, but super classic and, I don't know, overdone in my opinion. I'll probably post it somewhere, but social media, I don't think I'll sell this one. Oh yeah, those little cubs are pretty adorable. And then this one's pretty good. Everybody's taking this picture. Nothing new here, but it is cool to take your own, right? You know, this is an overdone shot. Everyone's got a picture. All the big photographers have a picture of the bear catching a salmon, but it is cool to get your own. So I would recommend it for that reason, is to say, hey, I took that picture, and then get it framed or printed on some kind of media and hung up in your house. But okay, so favorites. So everyone's got these. Those are all pretty cool. This one's super interesting. Not my favorite. Not my top 3, but I thought it was pretty interesting. Like his arms sticking out. And then there's this shot. I don't know if it was right before or right. Yeah, it's probably right after. He goes to sit back down. So we're probably like up to top 6 now, but I really liked this shot of this. It gives us a real, you know, non-classic picture of Brooks Camp, and she's thin enough that, oh, what happened? Okay, it looks like we're back. Disconnected for a second. So I really like this, you know, this could be anywhere. You wouldn't even know it's Katmai. It could be Yellowstone, as thin as she is. So I'll kind of let the stream catch up here. Yeah, that'll be super exciting, Sheila. Yeah, just a short time from now, you'll be able to get to see him. I totally agree, Sherry. Yeah, 1, 20, 30, it doesn't matter. But absolute favorites, I think this is probably my #1 picture. If I had to pick which one was my favorite picture, I think it would be this one here. I edited this one last week while we were on the stream. This one's okay. It's not as sharp as it could be. The actual photograph itself is good. And here's the previous. Like, it's a decent shot. I just didn't love. It's not as sharp as it could have been. The camera missed focus. It's probably focused on something, but I can't. It looks like it's really in focus over here. So we kind of missed that one. Even if I sharpen it a little bit, I think we're gonna probably push the picture too far. But yeah, this picture here is probably my favorite. I'd love to see your guys' favorite. I know this isn't the format to share it, but if you've got some great bear pictures you'd like to share with me, I'd be happy to feature them on here if you want me to. Yeah, Tammy, the reflection is really good. Were you the one that advised me not to cut it out? I think you were. I think last week you told me to leave the reflection. Yeah, it's just too bad it didn't come out super sharp. It'd be good on social media, but if you tried to blow that up, you'd be able to see that it missed the focus. But it is a pretty cool picture of Bead and Bean. But yeah, this close up here is probably one of my favorites. Well, there's a good chance that there's going to be somebody else on this live stream, Linda, that'll be there the same time as you. This is kind of, we're probably one of the only operators that does something like this, and so there's a good chance you're going to bump into them here. And if you share these and we get the word out, there'll be more and more people that, you know, love the Bears as much as we do and give us a chance to kind of come together here and build a little bit of a community where we can, you know, have these conversations every week. It'll be a lot of fun to hear people's stories as the season goes by. So let's see, going on about 2 hours here. Just about 7:30, and we're going to kind of start to wrap things up. So if we got any more questions that I can answer for the people here, if there's anything you guys want to see, anything you want to ask, now is a great time to do it. If it is something that should be in a little bit longer form content, if you got any ideas for what you'd like to hear about in the podcast, I'd love to hear them. You can drop them in the comments, or if you're tuning in after the show's over, please leave your ideas behind. More than happy to cover those subjects as we go forward. Sherry Beckett, who's in the chat here, is going to be a guest on the podcast sometime in the coming months. And she is an Alaska travel expert. And so we're going to kind of talk about a wide range of topics, and we're kind of sorting out what those are going to be. So we will cover a whole bunch of stuff, because I know that Brooks is not the only stop for many people here on the show. Although it is a priority for many people here on the show. If you're coming all the way to Alaska, you're probably going to do more than just Brooks. Yeah, Linda, we'd love to have you every week, as often as you can jump on. No pressure. If you can join, even if for just a few minutes, we'd absolutely love to hear from you. And, you know, having you participate in the conversation tonight has been awesome. And I loved hearing about, you know, Otis and you being passionate about bears since before you could walk. And really glad to hear that you got a chance to stay at the lodge. That's going to be super cool. Let's see. What else? That's actually a good question. Is anybody else going anywhere else in Alaska when they come to Brooks? You're going to visit any other places? Homer, Soldotna, Anchorage, Talkeetna, Denali, train rides? Any cruises in here in the chat tonight? Has anybody been to Kodiak? So I actually got the chance to live and work in Kodiak while I was still an air traffic controller. It's been quite a few years now, actually. I was there in 2019, the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. So it's kind of an interesting airport. This is not an aviation. All about bears. So you're only coming to Brooks. You're probably one of the few, but good for you. Yeah, Kodiak Island. So Kodiak Island is, you know, I want to say it's 161 miles to the city of Kodiak on Kodiak Island from King Salmon. From Brooks, it's 130 miles, so not that far. But yeah, so I got a chance to live in Kodiak when I was an air traffic controller still, and I worked at the airport there. Well, it's a Coast Guard base and the airport. It's shared. The public Alaska Air Terminal is on this side. Let's switch so you guys can see. So this is the island of Kodiak if you haven't heard of it or haven't been there. And then this is where it is in relation to king salmon. About 130 miles from Brooks, about 160 miles from king salmon. Akitna, Denali Glacier Landing, kayak, wildlife, out of Seward, dog mushing, of course, bears. That's a full itinerary there, Tammy. That's pretty common for what we've got people doing. Is that like a 10-day trip? The glacier landing will be super cool. Are you doing that with rusts? And then for anybody here in the chat or after the live stream is over, if you're thinking about booking something for Alaska, and Sherry will back me up on this 100%. It is not too early. If they're willing to take your reservation, you should do it. And you certainly want to be doing it right as you round the corner into the new year in January, because there's a good chance that a lot of these really popular and the good operators will fill up if they're not already. Perfect. I think that's exactly the amount of time that it would take to do those things, Tammy. I think you've got it perfect. I don't know if I gave you the 10-day advice or not, but that's basically what I tell people to do. Essentially what you're saying there. Are you guys going to ride the train, Tammy? Or are you guys driving are you guys driving? Yeah. Thanks, Sherry. You're my backup. But yeah, they certainly are, and they're going to fill up. Let's see. Who is the furthest from king salmon? Is there anybody on the East Coast here tonight? Is there anybody from Europe? Pretty early there, I think. 9 hours ahead. I know most of my viewers are probably... K2 Aviation's pretty good. I know a few of their pilots. Driving. Nice. Are you guys just renting a car and staying somewhere each place, or are you guys getting an RV? The reason I asked Cammy is then when somebody asks me later, I know who to go ask. Texas, okay. All right, let's see who's the furthest. So right now we got Texas. What part of Texas? East or west? Ooh, Pennsylvania. Sorry, Texas. Pennsylvania. What part of Pennsylvania? Ohio, Arkansas. Okay, I think Pennsylvania's still winning for now. Unless we got a New York or Connecticut, Massachusetts, Fort. So you got Pennsylvania, huh? So how far are you from Brooks? I'm just going to drop it right in the middle. (3,462 miles, central northeast. 3,500 miles. Want to do the RV, but we're in a car and stay in different places. Yeah, there's pluses and minuses to both there, Tammy, honestly. Although the roads are pretty wide and you're probably not going to have any trouble parking places, in my opinion, I don't know that there's a right or a wrong answer there. Just kind of depends what you want to do. So it's been a few years, but we went to Iceland and we drove and stayed different places, and that was pretty fun to just do it that way. And then you didn't, I feel like sometimes if you were to do it in an RV, it's a little too independent. You could just stop at the grocery store and you don't have to actually go anywhere. You just stay there and you can still explore, but you're not going to interact. You don't have to interact with people, which is kind of the fun part about traveling. So I think the car is that would be what I would do. Probably save a little bit of money on gas too, but then you got to spend money on places to stay, but that's fun. Linda, what part of California? I'm not from there, but I've been to most of it, and my dad's and I've got cousins who live in Oceanside, and also, I don't know if they still live over here, but I've got some family in California. A lot of friends from this area up here between Redding and Sacramento from the Air Force when I was in the Air Force. Danny lived there for 2 years. Lived where? There's a little bit of a delay in the chat, so I apologize if you were more clear about where that was, but because of the delay, sometimes I'm moved on by the time I get to the comment. Northern, but originally from Southern. Cool. And then for Texas, were you Fort Worth? Okay, yeah, see that now. Oh, wow. Iceland. That's cool. My wife and I have talked about it. We would live there. Not in the cards right now, but it's pretty cool. We never made it to the eastern side of the island. We made it about this far. I don't know how to pronounce that. I know I'd pronounce it in English, but that's pretty cool. And then we didn't spend a lot of time in Reykjavik. I think we did maybe 2 days. Day on the front, day on the back. I don't think we went that far. A couple different places, but we haven't been we've been to Mexico, I think, once since the Iceland trip. We haven't been out of country much. We've been really focusing on kind of growing the business here. Yeah, I would agree. It was pretty touristy when we went. I could only imagine post-COVID what it might be like there now with all the additional travel that's happening. Maybe I'll go to Greenland next. I really like this general latitude. When we were there, it is a little further north, but the weather patterns are very similar to Brooks or to Katmai and king salmon. That's a good question, Teresa. Katmai is not accessible by vehicle with 4 wheels. It's accessible by float planes and boats only. So the park, well, I take it back. Brooks is available or is only accessible by float plane or boat. You can technically drive into the park boundary if just being in the park is part of it. The park boundary is somewhere in this area. Then it runs south to, we call it Brown Bear Corner, like right here. And then it runs north. But to get to Brooks, the only way to get to Brooks is to go across this lake here. If you're going by boat or if you're flying, you'll either go on, so this is Dumpling Mountain, which some of you may have heard of before. I'm going to clear that measurement. So this is Dumpling Mountain, and the float planes will either come on this side and land at Lake Brooks or on Naknek Lake or around this side. But if you're flying, if you're going to come from Anchorage, which is probably where you're going to come from, it's going to be the most cost effective, to King Salmon is the closest airport to Katmai, and King Salmon really is the gateway to Katmai. You can get to Brooks from other places, but it is the closest location. You're only about 30 miles or so from King Salmon to Brooks Camp, 32 miles from King Salmon to Brooks Camp. So it is the closest spot to fly into and then visit Brooks. I don't want to be biased, but we operate out of King Salmon, but I'm not afraid to give you all the information. I want you to get there, whatever makes the most sense for you and your travel plans. So if you're going to Kodiak, there are a couple of operators out of Kodiak that visit Brooks Camp. So it's 130 miles from Kodiak to Brooks. Your other option is to go from Homer to Brooks Camp. It's about 170 miles or so, depending where you're leaving from. I don't know if there's any operators out of Anchor Point, but that's quite the drive already. We've done this math, and I've done it a lot. The king salmon is probably the least expensive option. There are a few more moving parts, but it is like one of the least expensive options. Not by a lot, but it is cheaper, and you oftentimes get more time at Brooks, and that's really where the value lies, is the amount of time that you're going to get at Brooks Camp going from king salmon versus from somewhere else. But if somewhere else is what's allotted for in your trip, then that might make the most sense, because king salmon is going to cost you time. So if you're on a super short trip, like maybe you don't have 10 days, like Tammy, you've only got 4 or 5, then a day trip from Anchorage or Homer might make more sense. But it is going to cost you about the same either way. But you could also go from Anchorage. There's several operators, including Katmai Air, that visit Anchorage. Trying to think who's the other people that we like that come out of Anchorage. Got a picture of the airplane, but I don't remember. I'll remember in a minute. But you can come from Anchorage directly to Brooks Camp as well. You can expect to pay between $1,200 to $1,500 a person. 12 would be on the low end. 15 is probably closer to the average, but you may be able to sneak a deal in somewhere. But that's basically what you could expect. Homer is honestly not that much cheaper. It's going to be about the same. And then the Kodiak operator that I know that does other bear viewing stuff from Kodiak doesn't list their prices, but I can't imagine they're doing it for less than $1,000. The base. Oh, wow. Okay. That's cool, Diana. Yeah. 10 years ago. That's about when I got out of the Air Force, 10 years ago. Pretty close to it, anyways. Hopefully that answers your question there, Teresa, as far as getting to Brooks. Yeah, I don't want to, and I never want to make anybody feel like you have to use this as your operator. If you just share a live stream, that's probably plenty for me. And if you haven't subscribed to the podcast or gotten a chance to listen to it, that also helps out a lot, and that's worth it for me. I'm happy to give away this. We give away all this information for free anyways. If you don't have my trip guide, you can get that. I think I mentioned it earlier. If you end up following this page or the Katmai Adventure Show page, we will post that when it's available to get the ebook that I'm in the middle of writing. It's about 40 pages on how to visit Brooks Camp. It'll give you a solid base to start planning your trip and give you most of the details. It won't walk you through step by step. We typically do that over the phone just because people's trips are so unique, but give you most of the information for how to plan that trip. And it'll have information on how to do it from Homer or Kodiak or Anchorage. Are there any other questions that I can answer? And if there's anybody here who is still thinking about planning their trip or haven't planned it yet, we are doing a webinar tomorrow on how to plan your trip and all the steps that go into doing that. I think Sherry, I know, has been to at least one of them. She's been to a couple of them. We've updated the slides and kind of tried to streamline it a little bit. So if you've been to it and haven't been before, it is over Zoom. I can give you the link to sign up for that, and you'll have the opportunity to interact with me in a little different format. If you want to ask me a question in person, you can do that through the voice and the video call there. And then it'll be, I think it's at 6 o'clock tomorrow, and it's actually the third. This might be good info for you, Sherry. It's the third Friday of every month from now until the season starts. That way they're just on the schedule and people can sign up for whenever makes the most sense for them. So if there aren't any other questions, it kind of was the plan to wrap it up at 7:30, but I'm happy to stay a little longer if somebody's got something. If not, I look forward to seeing some of you guys tomorrow. I would really appreciate it if you guys share the live stream, share the page, Leave any comments, questions. We will answer it. Shoot us an email if it's something that's a little bit more lengthy that you want for us to spend a little more time on. Shoot us an email, give us a call. Happy to help any way that we can. So if there aren't any more questions, I am going to hop off here, and I appreciate everybody stopping by, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week, and you guys can tune into the podcast on Tuesday. I'll give you guys a second to type any more questions. I am going to shut off the camera, but I'll be available for about another 5 minutes as I kind of shut stuff down here for the day. Appreciate everybody stopping by, and thanks. I'll see you guys next week.